Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you all tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. I'll tell you, we're going to have a fun show tonight as we take a look at some of the weird things around the planet, from giants to werewolves to demons to cryptids and paranormal. Dr. Dennis Carroll is here. We'll bring him up momentarily. And Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon. But first, let's say hello to each and every one of you. Michael Fontaine with a gold medal tonight. Race Fan with a silver. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a bronze medal tonight. So let us then say hello to Kitty Caddywhack, Robert Lamoth, Hippie Deidre in her Birkenstocks on Vancouver Island. There she is. She's excited for tonight. Dirty Filth, Simon the Likeable. Road Flare is here. Road Flare will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Little Timmy James, how you doing, man? Lee the Bee, Eternity Eternal. Mama Catherine, mwah! I love you, my dear. Hope you had a wonderful, wonderful nap this afternoon. Hope you did. All right, let's see who else is here. Scrolling on down, we have Vanessa. Thanks for coming on in. Digger Dog, JSCO. Good to have you both here. Scrolling on down, let us say hello to Oob to Joe's Maine. He's not only got aliens, but he'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio, bring your pointy sticks. It is necessary. Here we go with our next person to say hello to. It's Mel WD40, lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness. It's never comfortable. So we get a smooth show because Mel lubes us up each and every night. Hi, Thomas Rock. How you doing? Kurt M., the lovely and talented Kira. How are you? Noble Patrick and Cosmic Joe. Nice to see you both. Operation Shutdown. S for Met. Thank you for coming on in. Hi, John Lamb. How you doing? And Necessary Dialogue. Les Paul Holland in Australia, strumming away on his Gretsch tonight. Looking good, my friend, and sounding even better. Paramarv. Good morning, Commonwealth Andrew. How you guys doing? Fapster, good to see you. Cosmic Joe, thank you for kicking off this super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much as we continue on with our roll call here. Up next, we got Algaray over on Twitch. Did 500 push-ups to warm up for Dr. Dennis Carroll. He wanted to hear this. He wanted to be pumped up and jacked for it. He's ready. He's warmed up. He's ready to go. Marty Burback, nice to see you. As we continue on with our roll call, Mama Susan, Terrence Wills, how are you? And who's next on our list? Let's say hi to Candy Wolf. Good to see you. Mr. Cowley, welcome to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his Spaced Out Radio. Up next, we say hello to Ozzy. Jay Truthseeker, how you guys doing? And Joanne, nice to see you. And scrolling on down, let's say hello next to, well, there's Michael Fontaine showing off his gold medal. Paramarv, good to see you. Keith McCormick, how you doing? Good to have you here. And Super Knower, good to see you again. And Broken Shadow Feather, welcome to SOR chat again. Annie Svensson, where have you been hiding? So good to see you. Been a long time. Yay, Annie's here. All right, let's get the radio side going. Hi, Nina Williams. Hope you're having a good night. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Dennis Carroll is going to be our guest tonight as we take a look at everything from giants, Nephilim, paranormal, demons, cryptids, UFOs. We're going to get into it all with him. So just sit back, relax. We are in roll call right now. Hi, Matthew Gutka. Nice to see you. And Kurt W75. How you doing? Scrolling on down, let us say hello to Guy Calgary. Good to have you here. And Dogface Simon, thank you for that lovely super chat. We very much appreciate your love and support. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia, you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out, Bumblefoot, read Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got an amazing show for you tonight as we bring in Dr. Dennis Carroll. We're going to get into everything from demons and giants to legends of cryptids, ghosts, and folklore. It's going to be a fun show tonight. I'm pumped up for it. I hope you guys are as well. Then in hour number 3, we have Swamp Dweller coming in for another spooky story. We're going to follow that up with Robin Haynes filling in for Jackie Harmon tonight on the Cryptid Reports. Tonight's going to be fun. I can tell you that right now. As Dennis Carroll is a national and internationally known writer, author, and an authority on the occult and folklore. His career in all fields of the paranormal spans almost 55 plus years. He is a spiritual research and demonology consultant and a cryptid and ufology investigative researcher. He is retired law enforcement officer and ordained minister, doctor of metaphysics, parapsychologist, and a certified paranormal investigator. His books are on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, so you can check them on out for yourself. Dr. Dennis Carroll, it is so glad for us to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Glad to be here, Dave. I'm a big fan, so I'm happy to be here, definitely. You have a great show.
Well, thank you. We're going to have a great show tonight as well with you. Going back, did you ever think, looking back on your life 55 plus years now, that you would be investigating the paranormal and supernatural?
Well, I've always, I can't remember really a time when I wasn't involved in some way or another, interested in the supernatural and the paranormal stuff. But as I got older, around the age of about 15, I had my first true, real, full-blown paranormal experience, and that sort of lit a fire under me to, from that time on, to investigate and try to understand what it was that I had experienced.
What did you experience?
Well, it happened to be a demonic manifestation of I saw three demons. That's the best way I can describe it. Come out of a person and go through a wall. They were doing a sort of impromptu type of I'm gonna say an exorcism, I guess. And they were praying for someone. This was happened in a church, and they told everybody to put to close your eyes, bow your heads. I didn't. I watched, and what I saw changed my life in many ways. You kind of cut another corner and go a different direction. But these things look like the only best way I can describe them in that kind of a manifestation that they were in. They look like large, sort of dirty white balls of light. I say dirty light. It wasn't a bright kind of a light, They were about soccer size. And they were like one, two, three. They came out of this man and went through the wall. And I'm like, sitting there watching this with my jaw on the floor, almost so amazed at seeing this. And I had to try to understand what it was I experienced. So that's when I began studying deep into demonology, going into that and looking at the different aspects and the different ways that these things can manifest and the images they put forth. It can be kind of mind boggling because it goes into so many different areas of our existence.
When you saw what you saw, did it feel like pure evil?
I could feel it was something. The feeling I got off of it was like I'm gonna say something that doesn't really belong here. Something I would say out of nature, time and space itself in a way. It was just something that really, when you see it, it's something very abnormal and shouldn't really be here. You put it that way. It's something that shouldn't really be here, but it is.
Wow. I've never experienced anything like that. I hope I never do. For you, what kind of a culture shock was it?
It can be a life changing experience. When you see or have an experience like that, and you see something, it's believing with your own eyes what you see. You can talk about it all day long, but when you see it, that really brings it home to you. But here's one thing that got me on that day, something that has haunted me the rest of my life. One question comes up when you see and experience something like that, is that what else is out there? If this is real, what else is out there?
Did you believe the phenomena was real until this happened?
Well, I had, heard so many stories about it. I've read a lot of folklore and all that in that period, but to actually see it, like I say, that really brings it home for you, and it makes it more real, something that you experience. And it was so vivid, Dave, to me that I had to, for a little while, I kind of tried to deny it. It was kind of that, I'm not going to say frightening, but just that weird and out of place kind of a thing. And I just said, I didn't see that. I didn't really see that. But I came to realize, yes, I did. And I really can't get away from that, what I saw. I know that it exists now. Now I've got to try to understand it.
And what was it you now understand that you didn't before?
I think and that's what metaphysics is all about, is trying to understand the unseen things in this universe as opposed to the things that are seen. I think a vast amount of the things around us we can't see, definitely, like germs and stuff like that. We can't see it, but it's there. Nevertheless, it does truly exist. Some of them can very badly affect you. It's real. It's a real thing. Like the wind. The wind exists. We've seen what it can do with hurricanes and tornadoes, but you can't see it. But just because you can't see it doesn't make it any less real.
No, I mean, the reality is a lot of these experiences are happening. And, people through and through, whether they're believers or not, have these incidents that are just life-changing and life-altering. For you, how did it change your direction on how you viewed the world?
Oh, definitely. It changes your whole perspective of what you believe. And to a lot of people, it can be an earth shaking thing to them because it shatters their illusions of what they thought something should have been or what they want it to be. And then they find out they're completely different from what they really are. To me, that can be very, very changeable type of a thing to you. It can make you realize a lot of different, not just see, it falls into other categories as well, not just what you see or experience, but it goes deeper into other things. So it's sort of a domino effect.
When you say domino effect, what does that mean?
I think it kind of like triggers other things in your life. If this is that way in one thing, it can go into other aspects of your life as well, or in other aspects of the world around us. I know without a doubt that the demonic exist. I know it is there. I have seen these since then. I have seen these things face to face, and believe me, you would not want to see them. Okay, they're the most terrible things you can think of, the way they look. But that is the image they put forth. I know what their true image is, but when you experience these things, it goes into all areas of your life. And that's why I tell a lot of paranormal investigators, you got, no matter what you do, no matter what you're investigating, and this goes with UFOlogy, it goes with cryptology, cryptids, and all that other stuff, you got to play the demon card. It's on the table. No matter what you do, you got to recognize that. That's a factor that you got to realize.
I get that and appreciate that. What would bring them on? Give me a situation.
Okay. Say if a situation with a demon comes up. I've had a lot of consultations, a lot of interesting cases with those. I think like one time there was a thing that was in this people's house, and every night at midnight it would make a noise, and it disturbed it. It was an older couple, and it disturbed them greatly. And they said, they came to me and they said, "There's something in my house. There's something in here." And they could feel it. It wasn't just that, it was little things that was going on, that was going on in the house. But every night they would hear this noise. And what it was just like, somebody maybe like hitting a hand on the wall or whatever the sound was. It was like that. But every night at precisely midnight, this would happen. So I was there. I actually heard it do that. And I knew that there was some type of demonic entity at work here. And the fact is that this couple was a very devout Christian couple. Probably they were under some type of what we call oppression, demonic attack. This demonic entity was trying to wear them down, cause them trouble, cause them anxiety, worry, fear, because these negative entities are like a spiritual perpetual motion machine. The more negativity you give them, the stronger they become. They feed off of that. And you don't want that to happen. You want to stop that cycle. Because if it goes on and they get stronger and stronger and stronger, they can make your life a living hell. They can poison your very atmosphere. So you have to stop and not feed the beast, as I tell people. Don't feed the beast. You give them attention, acknowledgement. You form a rapport that you do not want to do.
So basically it changes your aspect, your consciousness, and your thinking, your feeling, everything that we do on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I've been accused by a lot of times, oh Dennis, all you ever talk about demons. It's not that. I do not like demons. I hate them. Okay, I don't want anything to do with them. I'm not fascinated with them and all that. But we've got to understand they are a factor in this world. And we have to look through a filter to make sure that's not what we're dealing with. And it's not that every time. I don't like to paint anything with a big broad brush, okay? But a lot of times that is what's going on because they're behind a lot of stuff. The more than we truly realize. So I'm not, and people like me, we're not being paranoid. We're trying to be truthful for what the real situation may be. And a lot of times I found out, oh, it's not demons. I'm happy with that. There's no problem. It doesn't upset me. I'm happy. But sometimes you've got to understand that factor is there.
How many times on a paranormal investigation are demons actually present?
I think a lot of times because they tend to try to masquerade as human spirits. Now, I have seen what you would call a ghost, full body apparitions. I have seen those. But this is a different thing. Sometimes these demons will try to masquerade as someone that you know or someone that you have heard of, may be familiar with. They try to pull this off a lot of times. They're up to no good. They're trying to mislead you on purpose for very nefarious reasons.
Isn't that the whole part of what spiritual warfare is all about?
Oh, definitely. That is where spiritual warfare comes into play. You got to understand first, as the Bible says, you must test the spirits. You got to understand what you're dealing with, why it's there, what it's up to, and then if it's not good, how to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dennis, as we deal with these situations, what are some clues that people can look for to see if it's a ghost, it's just a presence, or if it's something more evil?
Well, most of the time, you will feel if it is truly evil. You will feel it. It'll trigger something in you to know. It'll put the hair up on the back of your neck, or give you a queasy feeling, or whatever. However you react to it, pay attention to that because I think that's sort of your spiritual compass built into you that lets you know that something here's not right, doesn't feel right. And to me, that's the number one thing you pay attention to. But there are other signs as well. There are signs of like that couple I was talking about, things happening to you, things going on that have no explanation. It can be what we call very low key paranormal activity. But these things will usually do this to create an atmosphere of fear and worry and nervousness and all that because that's what they want to create because that will feed them and make them stronger. That's what they're looking for. That's very much like the story about Annabelle the doll. The doll was used, the doll itself was not possessed. Inanimate objects are not possessed. Okay. They can be influenced, they can be haunted, but they cannot be possessed. Only animals, living things like animals, trees, maybe even, and people can be possessed. But it has to be a living entity. But like they used the Annabelle doll to form a rapport, to get into the lives of these people, to do what they need to do. And that is a part of spiritual warfare. That's the attack, more of it, that you have to guard against and be ready for.
We got about 4.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Dennis Carroll is our guest tonight. We're talking about demons here. Are the demons just kind of roaming around, or are they having to be called in or conjured up?
Yeah, it can go both ways. Some of them are wandering around looking for things to get into, but other ones can be called forth from the darkness. And I've said this before, you have to be very, very careful what you call forth from the darkness. It will also have a very bad price to it, spiritual and otherwise. When you deal with the darkness, it demands sacrifice of some sort, whatever that may be. But to me, the number one thing you got to watch out for, not just the conjuring, not just the accidental, but it's the gates and doors to your life that you really need to guard. Be careful who and what you let into your life, because these things can come in through those. They can ride people into your life, they can ride objects into your life, whatever the situation. They're waiting for that door to be open. They can't open that door themselves. They have to be invited.
Why would someone invite them in?
Foolishly, they don't think that what they're doing. I've had people come to me, Dave, say, "Oh, why is this? My life is terrible. I'm doing this going on like this and all that." And you find out that they're dabbling in witchcraft, or they have a drug problem, alcohol problem, whatever situation. They have opened a negative door in their life. If you open the negative door, negative's going to come in. That's just the way it works. When you open that door and let these bad things in, if you live a bad life, what do you expect is going to happen? It's not going to be usually good stuff.
How do we protect ourselves?
We must foster, I think, a very positive attitude. We need to find that peace within us, that peace that gives us comfort, that sort of shores up those doors and those gateways I talked about. It keeps that enemy at bay. That we must put on. I like what the Bible says: the armor of light. And that's what we need, that positive outlook, that good and happy kind of a feeling in us. It creates a positivity, and the negative cannot stand that. It repels them like water off a duck's back.
Oh, I get that. And I fully understand and believe that aspect of it all. The power of God, if that's what you believe, or whatever your power of authority is something that is more powerful than any of these deities that are from the nether realms. And I'm curious, for your sake, as we got about 90 seconds to go here before we go to break, do you think that people should worry then if their houses are allegedly haunted, or they're in haunted buildings, or walking through spiritual areas?
Definitely, if you feel like you have that kind of a problem, it needs to be addressed. I have had people ask me that. So I think I've got demons or ghosts in my house and all that. Can I learn to live with that? I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't try doing it, because it usually leads to a more negative outcome. Things will go worse for you. It's not going to get better. It's kind of like a disease. How many diseases you hear of, they ever really get better? Terminal diseases. They don't. They get worse. And that's kind of what this is, a spiritual type disease.
Okay, I get that, and I think that can be very, very important as we move it forward here. One of the things that I want to find out as we go into the next half hour here, coming on up after the break, where we are going to get into the giants aspect of this. Do we have giants walking around? Are they still on the planet? And this is something that you have investigated, and we want to make sure that we could tackle that. Are they evil? Are they tied to demonic forces? Dr. Dennis Carroll is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and I'll tell you, we are having a good time with him so far. I can see it continuing for the next 90 minutes on the show before we get to hour number 3. Dr. Dennis Carroll. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we are clear. So just a reminder to you, our YouTube and podcast audience can hear us, Dennis. So we can just chat away. How you doing there, Dirty Filth? See how long it takes him to turn on his microphone or unmute his microphone.
I need to get one of those little gadget stations. So everything's right there. A gadget station. Probably sell fishing hooks there too.
Yep.
So Dave, did you hear about the Immaculate Constellation? The greatest band ever. I think you cut out, Dave.
Yeah, I've been chatting with people all night about it.
You got to let me know some of the goods so that I can draw a better cartoon.
All right, Immaculate Constellation. Apparently, there is a whistleblower coming out. I don't know the name. We're trying to figure out the name on who it is. And it's funny because I have the show going on right now. I'm chatting with sources right now, keeping my eye on the chat room and what you're drawing and our amazing guest that's happening.
Tell the sources I say hi.
I will.
Like, who's that guy?
Yeah. Does he wear Birkenstocks like Deidre?
Birkenstocks?
You know who wears Birkenstocks? Tim James.
What's a Birkenstocks?
It's like peppermint patty shoes.
I just wear moccasins. They're comfortable. Oops. Bonk my head right into the darn thing.
What you drawing? So with Immaculate Constellation, apparently this person is saying that there is a program that is so top secret. I'm going to use the Transformers example. Okay. Do you remember in the first Transformers when they said there is a Sector 7 that knew all about the Transformers, but nobody knew about them? This is the stuff we are apparently dealing with right now. This is the stuff. Now, I'm hearing that the program is real, but the report, the way it was represented, is not accurate.
Great. So my news wire here that I've got drawing is going to be totally inaccurate now. Unbelievable. We even got the breaking news guy here, Dave.
I know.
I guess I'll just have to draw like 25 more cartoons once they figure their stuff out.
Right.
How many broken crafts do you think they got, Dave?
No idea. No idea.
13. Look at those accurate brushstrokes there. All the cats have abandoned me, by the way, if anybody's wondering. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, where's Blob?
I don't know. They're all partying, apparently.
Are they drinking without you again?
You know, my milk, the consumption of milk and cream in this house is just astronomical now.
You must be going through at least 4 or 5 jugs a week.
I got to buy like 3 cows, basically, is what I'm going to have to do.
Hi, Jennifer. Maybe Bumblebee is real.
Bumblebees like my sunflowers in the summertime. Just saying.
Right? Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. We're going to get into giants next with Dennis Carroll. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. We really do appreciate your listening. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Dr. Dennis Carroll is here. We're going to talk giants next. Dr. Carroll, do giants still roam the earth? And I'm not talking NBA type giants. I'm saying real giants. Look like people, maybe 8 to 15 feet plus tall.
Well, that's a big, big problem there, Dave. Pun intended. It's very interesting. I think a remnant of the gigantic race definitely, I think, still exists with us. Too many stories, too much folklore about it, too many sightings, like the very famous Kandahar giant incident. You've got a lot of that. You've got the red-haired giants of Lovelock Cave. The list goes on and on. I think a remnant of these giants still exist. And I think also, and they are the children, of course, they are the Nephilim, the children of the fallen ones. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think some of the gigantic race itself is embedded in our DNA. I think we're still related to them in that way.
Where are these located, and why don't we see signs of them?
Well, think about it. If you're going to hide, where's the perfect place to hide? Cave systems. And that's where you see a lot of this giant activity associated with cave systems and all that. Perfect place to hide. You go deep underground, nobody can find you. That is where I would say your number one rule of survival would be put in place. That's, to hunker down, to hide, to be quiet. You survive more that way. And especially if you are something out of the ordinary, like a giant. I think when we talk about these giants, we got to remember they're not happy-go-lucky fellows like the Jolly Green Giant. Okay, we got to get that image out of our mind. These guys were really more like monsters in that respect. Look at the Cyclops. That's one, for instance, with the eye in the center. Some of these have even been described as having horns. We also know them by the name of trolls, mountain trolls, and stuff like that. A lot of these things are interrelated in our folklore and our history. Giants are talked about worldwide in every culture. I guess almost every culture known.
We've heard about giants biblically for a long time. This has been reported on, and a lot of people believe that Bigfoot is something along these lines as well. What is your thoughts on what the giants of today are if they're not truly giants?
Well, you go back to the fallen angels that the Bible describes. They came in and had sexual intercourse with women and produced this race. This race was a race of monsters. These weren't nice guys, okay? When they were born, they didn't just come out of their mothers. They tore their way out of their mothers, killing them in the process. These were bad guys. They are monsters. That's why the men that were alive at that time did not like them. And for the very fact that they were cannibals too. They ate people. That's not nice. And that's the way they roll. So what these monsters, this race of giants that the Bible talks about, produced by the fallen ones, were part of the plan, I think, of the fallen angels and their boss to disrupt the creation of this world and to disrupt the plan of the creator of everything. I think that's their major thing. And I think that plan is still in action. They did this to screw up the DNA of mankind. They did this as sort of like the enemy within. They produced these things within mankind to destroy mankind and the plan that was in place for mankind. That's the root of all this, I think, without a doubt. And I think it's still an ongoing plan. It's never ceased in its operation.
Are they evil and demonic as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. They are the demonic. I think the spirits of the Nephilim that are gone were not denied. They were denied heavenly entrance. They are doomed to wander the world. Their spirits are as demonic entities. I think that's where you get a lot of those. You gotta remember one thing about the fallen angels. There were a lot of angels that supposedly were thrown out. A third of the angels. We don't know how many that was, but I guarantee you without a doubt, as large as the universe is, and their number one job when they were created to be watchers, to be supervisors over the universe, there had to be untold millions of these things. Uh, they say there's an old saying about from alchemists that used to say, "How can you number the angels? There are more than there are stars in the sky," which is why they were often called stars. By the way, they had many names, but those that fail, a third of them fail supposedly. That's a lot of angels, my friend.
The Giants of Kandahar is probably one of the most popular stories there. For our audience who may not be familiar with it, what happened in Afghanistan?
Okay, well, supposedly there was, I think, a recon mission around some caves in Afghanistan, and they had, I think, one team had encountered this and was slaughtered supposedly by this giant. With, I think he had something like a spear or something like that, and he was supposedly around, I think, like 11, 12 feet tall. Suppose he had red hair, and he, I think, killed one soldier and wounded some other ones. So they sent in another detachment to take him out. And I think they did do that. I don't know. To this day, we don't know whether he was unalived or he was just knocked out or whatever. But supposedly the body was shipped back to the U.S. There are a lot of course, speculation on government involvement with a lot of these cryptids. We won't get into that tonight, but I know without a doubt there's a definite government influence in this. I even had the CIA try to recruit me one time. Okay, they are very interested in this stuff. You remember how back in World War II Hitler was very interested in the paranormal? That's
Yes.
nothing, I don't think, compared to what these guys are involved in. And when they contacted me, they asked me tons of questions about what demonology, and it made me wonder, what have you done? What have you opened some kind of door? Have you done something that what demonic entities you may be dealing with? That's an interesting question.
Is a very interesting question in regards to what is truly going on. Why don't we see these giants everywhere if they're still around?
I think there's not that many of them, but like I said, I think a lot of them have gone underground. That's where they hide. And a lot of these Bigfoot sightings and Dogman sightings are related to cave systems worldwide. There is a definite connection with that. And I think if I were going to go look for giants, I would go underground. I'd go in the cave systems.
Very interesting. What do you think you would find?
I don't know. It depends on what cave system you're in. Whether you find maybe some of the pale crawlers or you find an underground civilization that some people talk about. Who knows what you might find? But like I say, that is a vast, unknown, unexplored area beneath our feet. There could be anything down there. Anything. And there is a lot of speculation that some of these UFOs, which are seen coming out of caves and underground passes and all that, may be part of that as well. There's a lot going on underneath us that we don't know about. And I think if you go deep underground, who knows what you may encounter.
So you believe there is this underground world of cryptids, sprites, demons, and everything else that is living below us? Would that be above hell?
Well, the very nature, and I found this out to be true in all investigations, but I've been doing this now for over half a century. A lot of the nature of paranormal things is to hide. That's the way they do, because like I said, that's the number one rule of survival. And that way, you hide, you get away from these things, then you can better form a plan of defense. But that's what they do. They hide from us sometimes. If I walk into a house that's demon infested, okay? If I walk into that house, I guarantee you without a doubt that you may not see the demons right around you. You go look in the attic or look in the basement. That's where they're at, because they go there to get away from you. They go there to hide. That's just, I think, their natural defense mechanism.
Which makes sense. Because, they don't want to be showing their ugly faces around humanity, because for whatever reason, they got a plan. What do you think that plan is?
It is mainly to undermine everything that our Creator has set in motion. It is like a virus of evil, you might say, or darkness that is infiltrating every aspect of our world, and that includes nature. I think as time goes on, you're going to see nature turn against us. I think you're seeing that now. You're going to see it on a greater scale. I think even the animals, the Bible says that, will turn against us. Things are not going well. Their plan is succeeding to a certain degree, and I think you're going to see the ramifications of that very soon.
What evidence do we have that these giants are real?
I think our folklore tells us a lot about that. Like I said, every culture talks about giants, and there are still people being born that have that gigantic factor thing going on. I even met a guy one time. He was a giant. He was almost about, let's see, I think he was about almost 9 foot tall. He was a very tall guy. And he had the disease of giantism disease. He was outgrowing his heart. So he didn't live very long after I met him after that. But I am 6'4", and I barely came up to his navel.
That's
So
amazing.
I think the DNA is still popping up. You still got people being born with 6 fingers and 6 toes. That's another thing of the giants. They had 6 fingers and 6 toes, and sometimes they supposedly had double rows of teeth. These were monsters.
Can they speak a language?
I think, yes. I think they have the ability to speak. Whether they would have I think they would basically probably have their own type of language. I think, without a doubt. And I have seen Bigfoot face to face. I met him face to face years ago. I have heard them supposedly sing. I've heard them mumbling. I believe they can talk. I believe they can mimic sounds. I had one woman tell me that she heard a Bigfoot mimicking a chainsaw sound. I think they have a natural talent for that. And if they can do that, they could definitely talk. And there is evidence that sometimes they have actually called people's names.
A friend of mine just had a mimicking incident in the forests of the Kootenay region of British Columbia while out hunting a couple weeks ago. Scary times when that happens.
I had that mimicking incident happen to me years ago. I was out fishing one night. I was camping out with this man and his wife, and I had my own separate tent. But at night, I was doing a little night fishing. I was sitting by the, and I wasn't far from their, campsite. I was right there in it, and about maybe about 10 yards away in the bushes, I heard somebody say, "Help me, like that." It sounded like a woman. And I raised up and I said, I didn't say anything. I thought it was very odd because we were out in the middle of nowhere. There shouldn't have been anybody else there. And I raised up and looked, and I didn't say anything. And the number one rule is if you think you're encountering this thing, is not to answer it. That's number one. You don't want to do that. So I kind of raised up and looked, and I could not see anything. And it came back again, like it sounded now, this time more like a child. And he said, and it called my name. It said, "Dennis, help me." And I said, there was no way nobody out there knew who I was. I think this thing I knew right then immediately was trying to lead me off into the woods. So I just, I hollered back at it. I said, "Look, I'm not coming out there. You leave me alone. Go away, and don't bother me anymore." And then stopped. Never heard any more out of it. But that was a very strange incident. There should have been no one there. And it was not that man and his wife because they were sound asleep in their tent. There was no one around with me. And that thing, whatever it was.
Do you think Sasquatch are part of these giants?
I think they're related to them. You might remember back in the Bible, Esau. He was born with red hair all over. That's where the name Esau comes from. It means red hair. And he was born looking like that. And it specifically mentioned that several times, that he had a coat of red hair all over him. I think, without a doubt, that some of these cryptid things that we are encountering are the offspring of the Nephilim experiment that the fallen did.
What do you mean by Nephilim experiment?
I think I call it the Nephilim experiment because they were experimenting. I think the fallen, with their plan, was to screw up the DNA of mankind, and not only stopped at that, because there are reports of these fallen angels also having sex with animals. So what they were doing is trying to produce hybrids to screw up nature. And I think the result were some of these cryptids.
Your thoughts on being a pretty morbid thought. Sorry, I had a little bit of a tech issue there.
That's okay. I'm a podcaster. I know those things happen.
The fact that these things, are still walking around.
Let me tell you this, Dave. Whenever we get on certain subjects like this, you can expect technical glitches. It happens.
Okay, so you think then, if I have this correctly, that Sasquatch, cryptids like that, could we throw Dogman in there as well, or as werewolves or whatever, that they are together with, as almost like lineage of these Nephilim?
I think they had a hand in creating some of this stuff. Absolutely. What they're doing, actually, they don't create. Let me take that back. They manipulate. They can't really create things, but they can take what has been created and mess it up, manipulate it, twist it, bend it, whatever which way they want it to go. I think that's what you're seeing as part of their plan to screw up nature, mankind, and the very design of our Creator. That's what the plan is all about.
Do you think then that they are here to manipulate nature and the energy of Mother Nature?
Oh, definitely. One of the premier powers of dark witchcraft is the manipulation of weather. Or we call the demons of storms. They can call forth these things and produce hail storms, windstorms, rainstorms, whatever the situation. This is a known factor in dark witchcraft, absolutely.
What is dark witchcraft for people who may not understand?
Well, basically, it is witchcraft of a very dark nature, a very black, evil intent. That includes cursing people, putting hexes and spells on people, manipulating weather. Whatever the situation is, they can also put out death. I had death curse put on me. They can put death curses on people and all, etc. That is dark, or the dark arts, as they want to call it, or whatever name you want to give it. It is dark demonic power, basically. They're hooking up with the demonic to get these things done. They're in league with bad dark forces.
Is this all in control by Beelzebub himself?
I think it depends on which way you look at it, definitely. But I think he has a hand in it in certain ways. And everything has a leader, everything has a head to it, if you want to put it that way. Yeah.
Okay, so when we're having interactions with Bigfoot, then, where they seem to be more curious of us than we are of them, do we seem to, are they looking at us saying, how can I get the souls of these people? Because First Nations people, for the most part, have a very different outlook on this.
I think these things are on a lower scale than the upper demonic type forces would be. I don't think they're out stealing souls, but they can. I think the thing is they can be used. Like I think the government can use them. I think the government has weaponized certain of these things. I've had Bigfoot expeditions that have been interfered by the government, where there was a lot of interference on drones, black SUVs, the whole works. They're very interested in this stuff, but I think these cryptids, although may not be inherently evil kind of guys, they can be manipulated by that. They can be manipulated by evil forces, and there is a long history of the demonic doing that with animals and other things. I don't think they would stop with cryptids.
Well, on that note, let us go to break. We'll talk more cryptids when we return, because you also chase down werewolves. And I need to find out more about this. Dr. Dennis Carroll is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He is a master of many arts when it comes to the paranormal and supernatural. You can find his books on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble. We'll be right back. Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Dirty Filth, let's turn it over to you, Dennis. You have about 6 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Everybody can let the dog man out and go for a smoke. Let's gotta finish up a little bit of the detail here, everybody. I was enthralled with the story.
I'm interested in what you're drawing. That looks good.
Oh, here, let's grab the old booster.
Yeah.
So I just zoom that in there a little bit. Whoop.
Yeah. That's
Right,
neat.
so we got the breaking news just in that we have reports. There's a Department of Defense UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering program called Immaculate Constellation, which has been illegally withheld from the U.S. Congress. And then we have my character 32 Squared saying, looks like your pal 32 Squared is right again. Because he's always up to date on the UFO stuff. So he's actually just a TV that gains sentience at some point in time.
Okay, Immaculate Constellation.
Yeah, apparently that's what they call it. I mean,
Uh-huh.
just from the preliminary reports today, I think it's pretty. It sounds like a band of some sort.
Yeah, I'm a rock band.
Yeah, they probably play like space themed music about aliens and junk.
Uh-huh.
Just a bunch of ex-CIA guys in a rock band now.
There you go.
That's what they should do. If any of you CIA guys are listening, start a band and make it super ironic, like CIA guys disclose UFOs. People will be like, this is the greatest band ever. And they joke about UFOs and aliens. And all the band members are like, actually, no, we're telling the truth. And everyone go, that's funny. Maybe. I don't know. Never started a band. Not musically gifted, so. Cartoons, on the other hand, I'm pretty good at doing. And then we have the Kentucky Goblin hanging out as well, just for good measure.
Oh, yeah. Goblin, yeah.
Speaking of, anybody was wondering here, 32 Squared's pretty smart. Once they started making fun about like bugging all the UFO researchers and junk, there's 32 Squared telling Sasquatch sitting at the table, you know what? They begin ramping up harassment of UFO researchers.
I saw a cartoon the other day where you catch UFOs, and it was like a giant fly strip, and it was stuck to it. You know.
And then we got 32 Squared telling Sasquatch some more stories that in 1948, a Kentucky National Guard Air Guard died when his fighter plane crashed after he was chasing a UFO.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Very famous case.
A lot of people forget about it. And then also apparently earlier this year, apparently there was new UFO videos on the way. Sasquatch is hoping for them. He still hasn't gotten them. But meanwhile, There's some aliens having some Reaper pepper chicken wings for good measure. Poor guy's face is just melting. Yeah, it's a giant story.
Makes me hungry thinking about it.
Well, actually, tomorrow at the local pub across the street from me, they got half-price chicken wings. And it's the start of the hockey season, so I might have to go over there and drown myself in chicken wings and sports. Team's probably going to get punched out. I don't have a good feeling about it, but anyways. Alien hot wings are the best. Yes, Resonate, they are. I bet you they would have, I wonder what kind of hot sauces aliens got. When you go to a different planet, they got to have different types of plants and everything. I can imagine the spicy food from those planets.
All right. How we doing, Dirty?
Spicy.
Hi, Dave.
That's a great piece of art again, buddy. Thank you for tonight.
Puck drop tomorrow, 8 o'clock, Dave. Stress begins.
I'm already wearing my jersey, buddy.
I'm already sweating.
Thank you tonight, Simon with a hat trick, Deb and Deidre and Joe for the super chats. Here we go, everybody. Second hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. We're going to get into werewolves with Dr. Dennis Carroll next, but first, I want to say hello to all of you. My name is Dave Scott, the host of Tinfoil wrapped around me at all times. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Widdershins. Widdershins is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Author, researcher Dennis Carroll is with us tonight. You can find his books on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. We're going to get into werewolves now. Are werewolves real?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, werewolves and vampires do exist, although they're not the way that Hollywood would want us to believe. They're more connected with folklore. Say, for instance, the werewolf. The werewolf itself is a product of dark, black, evil magic. He puts on the belt or the pelt, it can be the one, and becomes a werewolf. He could be your next door neighbor, could be the bag boy at the grocery store, could be your best friend, and you not know who it is, because they are what we call shapeshifters. They have the ability to shapeshift, to turn in or to change their reality, step into another reality and become something else. That is what that's all about. But it is a supreme power that you get when you go up the ladder of dark witchcraft. But you have to do terrible, horrific things to reach those plateaus that you need. But once you do, you can acquire this dark demonic power called shapeshifting.
Are they humans that shapeshift?
They are humans until they change their reality and become something else. Let me say this, and I've had a lot of people ask me this question. Dogman and werewolves, are they the same thing? No, they're not. They are two different things. Dogman is Dogman 24/7. That's what he is. The werewolf, on the other hand, changes And it's not just the full moon. That's Hollywood. They can put on the belt and become a werewolf at noon or broad daylight. The time doesn't matter. The moon doesn't have to be in a certain phase. They can change whenever they want when they put on the thing. But here's the kicker. When you use dark, black, evil stuff, magic, power like that, there is a price. And every time that transformation takes place, you go back to being human, you lose a little bit more of your humanity every time. And eventually, one day you won't be able to change back into the human anymore. You'll be that monster that you've become.
What would make someone want to become a werewolf? To me, that almost sounds like same reasoning as somebody who wants to, like a medicine man who's gone rogue and become a skinwalker.
Well, skinwalkers, very much like that. They are witches, and that's what we're talking about here. The European version is the werewolf. They are witches. These people are witches and warlocks. They're involved in black magic. That's what they do. They hooked into demonic power to get this done. They've sold over themselves to this. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, can you sell your soul? Your soul is not a commodity. You can't put it on a scale and say so many pounds to it and sell it that way. You can't sell your soul. Your soul is your own, but you can sort of give it away. You can go over to that dark side permanently and get lost forever in the darkness. And the deeper you get into that darkness, the more it invades you and takes over until you're not really what you were to begin with. That's the way it changes you, badly to the bad way and not a good way. The interesting thing about the werewolf is if they do something like that, they're usually doing it as a power trip. You gotta remember, the werewolf of Hollywood is not what the true werewolf looks like. A true werewolf runs on all fours. It has a tail. It looks like a giant, dire monster wolf. That's what it looks like. It can stand up and walk like a man when it wants to, like a bear can. It can do that. But it mostly is a four-legged thing that runs. That is what a true werewolf is. There are different types of werewolves. A cursed werewolf would be one very much like the Lon Chaney Wolfman thing. He would be more man than he would be wolf in that respect. He has still got the beast trying to take over him, but he still has the mind of a man. That's what makes the werewolf so dangerous. It's not as horrific, supernatural, evil power and strength, but also the fact, the worst part of all, is that there's a mind of a person behind it. That's the interesting part of it. And I've had people ask me the big difference between Dogman and the werewolf. Dogman might cut you a break and let you walk away. A werewolf would never do that. Werewolf will tear you to pieces and eat you. No regrets.
So did they sell their soul?
Oh, yeah, well, they've sold over to the dark side, put it that way. They have sold out and become complete darkness and evil. That's what evil does to you. It's like you take a drug and it completely takes you over. That's the way it works, so that it twists you into becoming something else other than what you once were. And I'm not talking about the shape-shifting thing. I'm talking about spiritually. It changes you. It darkens you. So, yes, you do lose your soul. You also lose your humanity. You can't have one without the other.
Do you become immortal?
Yeah, werewolf can be somewhat immortal, but it can be killed. There are two different types of immortality. There's the immortality of a god, which cannot die and never die, cannot be killed. It is completely bulletproof, you might say. But there's another type of immortality, like vampires and werewolves have, that they can be put down, but they will live a long, long, long time if they're smart and able to survive. much longer than you think possible. I met a vampire supposedly one night that was almost 300 years old.
Tell me about that meeting with a vampire. What happened there?
Well, I was out in a cemetery in Charleston, South Carolina, looking for a certain grave. I was looking actually for the grave of a signer of the Declaration of Independence. I'm a big history buff. I was looking around, and it was a fall day. It was late in the day. I remember that. It was kind of, like it wasn't a real bright, sunshiny day. And I was looking through some of the tombstones, and I heard somebody behind me say, "Do you like graveyards?" And I turned around, and it was this young lady there. And she was probably between 18 and 25 years old, something like that. She was very pretty in a way. She had long brown hair, kind of pale, but not real pale. And I said, yes. I said, I find graveyards very interesting or something. She says, oh, I live in this graveyard. And I said, well, that's interesting. And I shook her hand. She put her hand out. And honest to God, it felt like shaking the hand of a dead person. That's what it felt like. I began to get some really unusual, dark feeling vibes about this woman. She was dressed in sort of half modern and half old. She had, I remember she had on like a shift, but yet she had a bodice like on over it. And it was very strange. And I said, really? I said, do you do rubbings or something out here? That's the big. Oh, she said, oh no, I don't do things like that. And she said, I'm buried here. And she said, I was buried here. And I said, oh, that's very interesting. I'm beginning to get some very, very, very bad vibes here. And I said, that's very interesting. I'm going to tell you something strange. It was a kind of warm day. I could not feel anybody heat off of her. Only a weird kind of vibe. I'm not going to say I was real dramatic and I was tingling all over. I wasn't doing that. But I was picking up something very strange about it. Only way I can describe it is otherworldly, like feeling, And I said, oh, you were buried here. And she said, yeah, that's a long time ago. She said, I'm almost, I think, 298 years old or something like that. And I said, well, that's very interesting. I said, she said, yeah, I'm a vampire. I said, oh, really? And I said, well, what are you doing out in daytime? That's the first thing I asked her. What are you doing out in daytime? She said, well, we can day walk when we want to, but it has to be sort of cloudy. It has to be kind of a dark day. We don't get in the real bright sunlight. She said, but we can day walk whenever we want to. And I thought, well, this is probably a girl maybe in one of those vampire societies, because they are some in every city, large city, even like Charleston, New Orleans, and stuff like that. I said, so you're in one of these vampire societies? She said, oh, no, I'm a real vampire. And I said, really? I said, and, that's interesting, very interesting. And I looked down at a gravestone there, and I was going to look up and ask her another question. When I did, she was completely gone. And I could see through that whole cemetery. I mean, there was nothing obstructing me. There were no trees or nothing. I could see through that. I started looking behind the tombstones for her. I thought she might have got down behind one of the tombstones. She was completely gone that quick. And to cap it all off, as I was looking around, I noticed something in the sky. I look up, and in the trees, a big bat's flying by. I mean, it was one of the biggest bats I have ever seen in my life, flying on through the trees. And that was my big. And I feel like I told somebody this the other day. I'm not psychic. I don't do that. But I said I feel like that she and I one day will meet again.
Oh wow! Very interesting. Very interesting. Dr. Dennis Carroll is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Have you ever met a human immortal?
I don't know. I think I'm going to say I've made this statement before. I'll say it again. There are some things out there walking around among us that look human, but are not. And there are some humans walking around there who are no longer humans anymore. I think you've got a lot of that walking around out there. You never know what you're going to meet.
Have you ever talked with somebody who has met immortals or had conversations with them?
I met a man one time that supposedly met Saint Germain. I know you've heard of Saint Germain. The Count Saint Germain, supposed to be an immortal alchemist. Some people think he's called also the Wandering Jew, which is a legend, about an immortal that cannot die until doomsday. I met a man once that supposedly said he met him on a trip to Alaska one time, that he met him on his ship there. So that would be interesting. I would love to meet Count Saint Germain, definitely.
But you don't think there's anything like the old Highlander movies, and there's a quickening that they go to battle, and the one who survives with their head without their head being cut off, then they're fine.
Well, I think in order for you to have immortality, you've got to do something. I don't think you inherit it. I don't think it's, passed down that way. But I think you have to do certain things to acquire immortality. Let me say this. There are people who have given themselves over to the darkness in this world that are pursuing wealth and fame and immortality, because what good would all the wealth and fame in the world do you if you had to die and leave it? So yes, they are definitely looking for immortality, and I like to say, like that song, in all the wrong places, and all the wrong ways. They're looking at robotics. They're looking at cloning. They're looking at doing these things through dark magical rituals. Whatever the situation, they are seeking immortality. They will do anything to get it. I think that's going on. And I don't believe that there are people that are born in each generation that are immortals like the Highlander thing. But you cannot do certain stuff to put you in that category.
Are cryptids immortals?
I think they, like Bigfoot. When I saw him, I got the feeling he was sort of like an animal. Definitely, I didn't get an evil vibe off of him like that vampire. I didn't feel that, but I felt like he was something out of place of nature in nature. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a weird feeling. It's kind of hard to express, but he felt like, to me, he was out of place. He shouldn't be there. I think Dogman would be the same way, but being immortal, I think they may have extraordinary long lives, some of them, but I don't think they would be immortal. I think they would have to breed or come from other dimensions or whatever it is they do to procreate. Because there's a long history of women being abducted, supposedly by Bigfoot, and being used for breeding purposes.
Do you think then that with these cryptids that are out there, that they have rules and guidelines they need to follow in order to keep their own population going?
I think so. I think nature gives them guidelines. I think our creator has put certain limits on things. If it didn't, we wouldn't probably be here. I think things can only go so far to a certain extent, and they're stopped by what I like to call the grace of God. If it wasn't for the grace of God, we would not be here. These things would have already destroyed us, because that's their intent to do. It's our destruction. I think there are limits on a lot of things in this universe. Absolutely.
What's the difference between a dogman and a werewolf?
But like I said, the dog man is supposed to be dog man 24/7. He can't change anything else. He's not a shapeshifter in that respect. Whereas in the werewolf, created by dark magic, is a shapeshifter. To me, that's a big difference. And like I said, a lot of people encounter dogman and walk away and talk about it and live to talk about it. You will not live with an encounter of a true werewolf. He's not going to let you go. He's going to take you down just like a shark would. No doubt about it. He's an apex predator. And he has a sort of what I call psycho twist to his mind. That's just the way it is. And he's going to eat you too. I think some people have been attacked by dogman. I believe if I walked up on a scene, I could tell you whether dogman did it or werewolf did it. Because if the body is still pretty much there, just mutilated a little bit and all that, that'd be dogman. If the body's been eaten and torn to shreds, that would be a werewolf.
Why does dogman seem to be a lot more dangerous than Sasquatch?
I think it would have to be. I think the breed of it would have to be that way in some ways because he's following nature, and the dog, the wolf, is in that respect. I get the feeling that Bigfoot is more like, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone kind of guy. But I don't think you could push dogman too far. I wouldn't want to try it.
A lot of people seem to get telepathic messages from dogman, basically saying, if they pull a gun on them, I wouldn't do that if I were you, kind of thing. What do you think?
There is a disturbing factor. There is a disturbing factor there, Dave, that to me has a demonic tie to it. That's why I say I think a lot of these things can be manipulated by the demonic. Because it is one, let me say this, one of the premier things that the demonic do is try to touch your mind. When something touches your mind, that is the ultimate invasion of privacy. And I tell people, do not mess around with that. Something touching your mind that way is not a good idea to communicate with it, have a rapport of any kind with it, because that's the way the demonic works. I have read too many cases, too many incidents of dogmen having a lot of what I would call demonic connection like to it. And that worries me that maybe a lot of these dogmen possibly may be things conjured up by dark magic.
What is good that's out there then?
Well, I think angels are definitely out there. I think there are more good guys out there than there are bad guys. I hope so, anyway. I believe that there are. Because I see a lot of good things that happen in this world, more than bad things in some ways, that can't be explained. I love angels. I'm a big fan of angelology. I think that they are God's secret agents, and they are working on our behalf always. And that's kind of good to know that they're there. And they are counter to some of the darkness that's going on in this world. I have told people this before. I have met demons face to face. Okay, but I would much rather meet an angel. I don't care for demons at all. I'd much rather meet some angels, and I'd like to know it when I meet them. Supposedly, one of the things angels do, if you ever meet one, that you forget about it. They sort of, leave out of your memory because it's not about them. True angels do not have an ego at all to them. They're good guys. They're not about ego. They're not about worship or anything like that. Only about God and helping you. That's the way angels work. That's my kind of guys. I'd rather be on the side of the angels.
I hear you there. Dennis Carroll, we got him until the top of the hour on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to take some audience questions next. If you're in our YouTube channel.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Okay.
Flying on by.
Bye. We're having fun. It's going fast.
Thank you, Deborah. Audience questions for Dennis next. If you are in our chat room, which most of you are, make sure you go and put your questions in capital letters, please. I'd greatly appreciate it. You got enough phone juice to last another half hour? Uh-oh. I had a feeling that was coming. No, wait for him to come back on. I think his phone died. I think his phone died. He's going to be racing for his charger now. Unless his power went out. Guess we'll soon find out. What's going on, Richard Minnick? Waiting to see if my guest pops back up here. Excuse me. Hi, Queen Patrican. Like I said, I think his phone died. He's in South Carolina and they haven't got power, or they just got power back, but they don't have internet back. So, hoping he makes it back. This sucks. There he is. Dennis, can you hear me? Waiting for him to pop back in. There he is. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Right on. All right. Did you freeze up on me?
Yeah. Okay. I'm here.
I'm going to get you to take me off a speaker. I'm getting all the feedback.
I'm getting all the feedback. Completely knocked me out of the studio. Then come back in. Oh,
Oh, we got a bad signal.
Based on going on.
You're sounding like a robot, and I'm hearing you.
Okay.
Try getting out and coming back in. All right. Thank you to Deb times 2, Simon times 3, Deidre and Joe for the great super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get back to Dennis here momentarily. Wildflower, how are you? Welcome to SOR chat. Dennis, use voice only. Turn the camera off and just use voice only. Oh, you got booted. Here we go. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Talking monsters all night long. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for being here. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, we're on every major podcast network for free. And you can watch our YouTube channel at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Now, we're supposed to have Dennis Carroll until the top of the hour. He's in South Carolina, where they've been having troubles recovering from Hurricane Helene, and they just got power on recently, but they don't have internet, and his phone line seems to have crapped out on him. So he is working on it on his end to try and get him back. So we're going to just go to some audience questions here, and hopefully I can find the answers. And let's start off with Derek here, who is asking, what if you embrace the darkness to deceive the desolate ones? Well, if you do that, you're just going to make things worse for yourself. You're going to make things worse. Darkness bad. Darkness bad. Let's see if we can get Dennis here momentarily, because he is coming through. But Dennis, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Dennis, I'm going to get you to turn your camera off and just use audio. It'll save some signal for us as we try and... Sometimes in live radio, you have technical issues. When somebody's in a area like Dennis is, with everything that's gone on, it's a little bit difficult to navigate. So we are working with that. I'm glad we got him for 90 minutes, but everything seems to be acting up on his phone system here right now, which he is using in audio and video. So we're hoping we can get that cleared up. Dennis, can you hear us? Continuing on with Derek's question. Derek, I'm going to come back to that if we can get Dennis back on the air. Are you saying, according to Queen Peachy Keen, werewolves are conjured and not made from the bite of another werewolf? I think that's what he was saying. That's what I got out of it, was that they're conjured up spirits into a physical form. But I'm still not sure. I mean, he said we can't trust the Hollywood way on how werewolves look. You know, going from human, all of a sudden there's a full moon, and all of a sudden somebody says, "Get out of here now. You're not going to like what you see." in bad 70s horror classics. We'll try and get Dennis back here momentarily. But I think that's what he meant. I think that's what he meant. I do love the topic of immortals, though. I don't know about you, but like I'm a people watcher. And when I travel to someplace, let's say Las Vegas, because I go there quite a few times. I've been there a few times. I'm always looking to see if people around me are immortal. Don't know why, but I'm a people watcher. Dennis, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. I hear you.
All right.
I was going to answer that question up there about the werewolves are conjured and not made from a bite. Now, the bite would be the cursed werewolf variety. It can be passed down through a bite or a bloodline.
Okay. Well, at least we got one answer in before his phone failed to begin. There you go. If they do get bit, they're a little bit more evil and bad. Evil and bad. Let's go to James here. If you ever saw some mysterious glowing diamond or golden stairs suddenly appear in the middle of the forest, would you walk up them? I don't care what stairway it is. Because for people who may not know, there's this folklore conspiracy that if you find a stairwell in the middle of the forest, and not one from a foundation from like a house that was, dilapidated and fell apart, from 300 years ago. Not one of those. But one with, say, iron castings going up and everything. Would you walk up it? Well, apparently what happens when you walk up them and you get to the top, you enter another realm, another dimension, and they don't want people doing that. I wouldn't do it.
The woods, and would you walk up them? No, I would not do that. Definitely not. It might be leading you to the top of a portal or something like that. So it would be very dangerous for you to do that.
Dennis, I want to try something with you. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, it should say stop camera. I want you to try turning your camera off. Maybe that will clean up your audio a little bit.
Okay.
Much better. Much better.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go up in a stairwell if you saw one in the middle of the forest?
I would not advise it. Definitely not.
Okay, we didn't get much of that. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, Dennis, we're not getting audio that's allowing you to sound human. It's coming through very, very robotically. I don't know how I am coming through on your end, but hopefully the signal picks back up again as we move forward here. I'm going to try one more question for you here, Dennis, from Polly. Are those realms helping us with our evolution or just parallel realities? Well, Dennis has lost signal again. So I will say that I don't think they are helping with any sort of human revolution. I don't think the paranormal world really does that. The spiritual world does, but not the paranormal world. But I think with parallel realities, I think the difficulty there is if we are running in a multiverse and there are multi-timelines, hundreds of timelines maybe, where there's hundreds of Daves, not every Dave is doing this show at this time. I think that these realms are pushing us towards different outcomes in each level. I mean, imagine for the fact that there are probably if we are living in a multiverse. There are probably times where you are rich, when you are poor, when you are a student, or whether you're homeless. Whether you're in a war-torn country or famine or living the high life in a castle. I think there's a lot of that going on. And if the multiverse is true, then that means, maybe in one lifetime you're going to live to be 100. In the next lifetime, maybe you'll live to be 200 if evolution has changed at that point. And there will be times when maybe you're dying as a child due to disease or famine or whatever it may be. Dennis, let's test out your sound now. Can you hear me okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting about every second word from you tonight, my friend. Obviously there's something going on with your signal there. And you keep dropping out. So what we'll do, Dennis, is we'll release you for tonight because we only got about 13 minutes left in this segment. And we'll release you for tonight due to the technical issues and kind of go from there. I'm not sure if he heard that. He'll probably try to buzz back in and you'll hear a little blip when he gets here. We'll try and see if he will do that. Let's get to some audience questions here. And kind of go from there. Getting back to the whole multiverse situation. I mean, I don't know how I would react to being able to view inside multi-dimensions of my life. Once again, I remember having that dream that I met myself, but that's just a dream. I don't know if that was an actual reality or timeline skip or whatever it may be. I don't know. That's the hard part. And I'll be really, really upset if I find out that, say, I'm worth $100 million on another lifetime that I run into. It's not sharing with me, because Lord knows old Dave could use a nice big 4x4 truck to go looking for Sasquatch. That's for sure. Although I do love my Jeep. It just needs a bath right now, and I don't want to bathe it. I really don't. By the way, just off topic tonight, do you know what happened 74 years ago today? I'm being very, very vague with this. But if you know what happened 74 years ago today, you're going to go, ah. You're going to go, ah. Today's the day, 74 years ago, that Charlie Brown adopted Snoopy. How is that for a history lesson right there? Who doesn't love Snoopy and Charlie Brown? They are amazing. Amazing. I love Snoopy and Charlie Brown. Snoopy just got it. He really just got it. Then that Lucy always pulling the football away. That's terrible. Any questions from our audience? Please put them in capital letters so that way I can easily read them. Immortality. How I love that subject. I wish somebody would reach out to me and point me into the direction that immortality was actually real. How trippy would that be? Be horrifying, but trippy at the same time. That's for sure. Totally for sure. Simon in Australia is asking, how's the fam? You're looking young and sprightly. Much love, man. Family's good. Thank you. Family is good. My buddy, my little guy, is doing great in school. He was telling me all about his math test earlier today. Says he did well. He loves math. He really does. By the way, if you're in Florida and North Carolina and all those areas, again, that's going to be hit here again by another hurricane, let's send some positive vibes out to everybody there. So that way, hopefully it's not as bad as Helene was. We don't want any more of that stuff. It's getting to be ridiculous. Don't you think? Getting to be ridiculous. And what I don't understand about areas like that, because I live in a forest fire area, is people who think they are tougher than Mother Nature. If you're told to evacuate, evacuate. Don't be macho. Okay? There is not a thing in your house that is more valuable than your life. Sure, it may have monetary value. Maybe you got gold or silver hidden away. Take that with you. If you got money stashed around your house, take that with you. But there's nothing else in your house that is more valuable than your life. I just can't believe how people do that. And look, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here because I know there's people, oh, this is government generated and I'm going to weigh it out and screw the government, screw the rescue workers, screw this, screw that. Do yourself a favor. At least make sure you put your name in your shoes. So that way, if something bad does happen, they can identify you. Honestly. Happens every disaster. There's always that person, screw that, I'm not going anywhere. Staying with my house. Look, there are people in dire situations that just cannot leave. Maybe they're in wheelchairs. Maybe they're handicapped. Maybe they don't move around. They're elderly and don't move around very well. But get the hell out. Honestly. Michael's asking, what do you think of the trouble Dear Leader's been getting into lately? No comment. We don't talk politics on this show. Hopefully, Dear Leader's time is almost up. That's for sure. But if you're in a disaster zone, leave while you can. Seriously. In 2017, when I was evacuated from my house due to forest fires, I took what I could. I had an hour to pack up. I packed up 2 vehicles. I brought the essentials, man. Clothes, my guitars, all the important paperwork like passports, birth certificates, medication, my favorite aftershave, toiletries, family pictures. It's all you really need. You don't need to worry about the dining room chair. You don't need to worry about the fish tank. They'll be in water. They'll be okay. You don't need to worry about what's in your fridge. It's going to go bad anyways. Just get out. Let's go to Simon in Australia. Dave, how's your Sasquatch spot going? Has your prodigy had any more mental links to them since I heard before? Going out this coming weekend back to the Sasquatch spot. Have not been there in a few weeks due to weather, due to ghost tours that I've been doing. I think I'm done with the ghost tour. I think I'm officially done. Yeah. I think I'm going to finish up this year and say, that's enough. I need more time to myself. But yeah, we're going back to the Sasquatch spot in a couple of days here, and hopefully we're going to get some action. Hopefully we're going to be able to get close, because this weekend it'll be the 2-year anniversary of our sighting of the 10-footer there, which is really cool. Now, do I expect him to show up? No, we haven't been there enough this year in order to grab that communication. I don't expect him to show up, but there might be some signs. And what would be really cool if something did happen is my dad is actually coming up here for our Canadian Thanksgiving weekend this weekend. And I'm actually taking him out there for the first time. So we're going to have a big fire out there. We're going to try and bring him in and see where it goes. Hopefully something happens. Don't know if it will. Jeff Sherrod, if you have been in the Appalachian Mountains, you would know they didn't have much of a warning and it takes considerable time to get out. Hey, I understand those situations. Those aren't the type of people that I'm saying my warning about. I mean, like, I was watching the news tonight on X, and there's one guy who lives on a sailboat in Florida, somewhere in the Keys. And he's like, screw that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here on my boat. That's the kind of dumb I'm talking about. That's the kind of dumb I'm talking about. That's ego. And I realize that boat may be the only thing he owns, but the boat can be replaced. That's what insurance is for. Now, I know some people, especially down in the U.S., don't have insurance. I get that. Insurance is expensive. But you've had enough time to get the hell out of the way. So go find that time. Your life isn't worth it. It's not. So I get what you're saying, though. Hey, disasters happen, and sometimes you don't have time. You don't. I know people in my area through the forest fires, they didn't even get a warning. And the next thing you know, the forest fire's on their back door, and they're running out with the clothes on their back, out of their houses, and they lose their house. I totally get that. I totally understand that entire point, that some people just do not have any time to escape. I mean, you go back to 1980 with Mount St. Helens. There were people there that were like, no, we're not leaving. Well, between the volcano, the volcanic ash, the polluted air because of it, plus the flash flooding from the mountain coming down, killed a lot of people that didn't have to die. They were forewarned that the mountain was going to erupt. I'm not going anywhere. I'm tough. Multi-million tons of mountain rock can't scare me away. How's the view from heaven? That's all I'm going to say on that. I apologize for our guest tonight, Dennis Carroll. He is in South Carolina, and they have been having issues with their phones and internet connections and heating and lighting since Hurricane Helene. So I think he got into some trouble there with that. But hey, it's been a good half hour. Been a very good half hour on the show. And we made it through because I am a professional radio broadcaster. And that's what I do, as Walter M. Sterling would say, a good hero in radio of mine. This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. And in hour number 3, coming up right after this, Swamp Dweller is going to join us, along with Robin Haynes filling in for Jackie Harmon on the UFO Report. We will be right back, everybody.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, everybody, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back, okay? All right. Sorry about that. We got about a minute to go here. At least I found my shoes. Oh, man. Robin Haynes is sitting in the backdrop with a giant smile on her face because she's that awesome. Hi, Robin. I love Robin. She's so excited to be here. She's always excited to be here. That's what I love about her. Bear with me, Robin. Big thank you tonight to Simon Debaruni ×2. Simon with the hat trick, by the way. Deidre reached into her Birkenstocks for a nice $2.79 Canadian super chat. And Cosmic Joe. Always appreciate the love and support, everybody. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. We got good stuff there. Always good stuff. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Widdershins. Widdershins is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. It's that time of the night where we head to the swamp. Here comes Swamp Dweller.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
Before I tell you what happened that night, let me tell you who I am and when this happened. My name is Tyler. I'm 16, and I'm a junior at a semi-private school. This event happened 2 years ago, almost 3 now, so bear with me on the details. The memories from that night are still a little foggy. But anyway, here I go. It was 2017, late October, I think. I had just gotten home after a long day of school. I decided to hop on my PS4 and play some Call of Duty Black Ops 3 with some online friends. As the hours passed, old and new friends had come and gone, and I was home alone for the week because my mother and father went on a business trip to Georgia, as well as visiting some family. It wasn't the first time I had to be home alone for a long period of time. I usually went to bed around 9:30. But since it was a Friday and I was home alone, I decided I would stay up. 9:30 came, and then 10, and then 11, then midnight, so on and so forth. You get the point. My eyes felt heavy and were foggy because of how long I was playing the video game. But the fact that I was wearing contacts didn't help either. I decided to check the time since I knew that it was getting late. It was 1:20 a.m. I was in a match, so I didn't want to get up and turn everything off. I decided that I was going to finish up the current match, and then I was going to go to bed. As I was finishing up the match, a putridly bad and musty smell hit my nostrils. To be honest, it tensed me up for quite a bit, and I gagged at how bad it was. I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep through it, so I played a couple more matches, hoping that the smell would eventually go away. But that wasn't the case. Over time, minute by minute, it almost seemed like the scent was getting closer and stronger. I attempted to ignore it and continue to play my game. I have a noise-canceling headset, but I could swear that I heard footsteps from behind me. But then I remembered I had the 3D sound on as well. So being me, I ignored it. Then I heard tapping. I took off my headset to confirm that it was the game. Then I heard it again. It was coming from the window behind me. It had shades over it, but with the outside light on, I saw a silhouette of something almost human-like. I stood in my room frozen in fear, looking at the silhouette, wondering if I was just delirious on sleep, but then its head ticked to one side like a bird, and it tapped on the window once again, in the same pattern. As adrenaline shot through my body, I decided, being the curious young teen that I was, to open the shades. When I got closer, the stench got stronger, and I could tell now that it was the smell of something decaying and dying. Could it be a dying animal that just so happened to stumble upon my window, I thought? But then I remembered the tapping and how in unison it was. I finally got the courage to pull back the curtains, and I wish I hadn't. It had a human face, but where the eyes were supposed to be, there were just sockets. It had sharp teeth so jagged I could swear it could tear through steel. Its face was decomposing and rotting. It looked like it had been dead for such a long time. I stood from where I had opened the window shades in fear. I couldn't take my eyes off of this thing. I didn't know if it was looking at me or not because of its empty, soulless eye sockets. Then it tilted its head with a sharp movement that startled me, and I screamed. It got up with so much speed, and then it went back into the woods. I saw its body and how contorted it was and how awkward it moved. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night or weeks even. I haven't seen the thing since that day. And I'm only sharing this now because in class a couple of weeks ago, we learned about Native American cryptids, and the skinwalker fit the description well. The only thing off is that it usually takes the form of the things it has killed. My question is, who is the person it killed to take their form? I just hope that's the only time I ever see that thing, because who knows what it might do if we ever cross paths again.
Thank you to Swamp Dweller for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel. Just type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe. He's got thousands of stories just like that. It's time for the Cryptid Report. Here comes Robin Haynes. Robin Haynes, good to have you in here for this edition of the Cryptid Report. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for the surprise invite.
Well, Jackie wasn't feeling very well today, so we had to switch things up, and thank you for bailing us out here.
Not a problem. Anything for you guys.
Stuck with me.
Oh, I can handle that. I can handle that. That's what friends do. They cover each other, so it worked out good.
You got that right. I want to ask you something about this because we had Dennis Carroll on a little bit ago, and unfortunately we didn't get the last half hour with him due to phone troubles that he was having. He's in South Carolina getting the remnants of Helene, pardon me, and so his phone system was kind of acting up on him because he doesn't have internet yet. But he was saying that his belief is that Sasquatch may have some of the remnants of the Nephilim in them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that say that. I'm not, I think everybody is entitled to their beliefs, and I fully respect it, even if it's not particularly my belief. What I will say is this: if you go up to them when you're talking to them, and I, as everybody knows, I mind speak with them and I physically talk to them as well. And call them anything to do with the Nephilim, and they are not happy campers. They get really ticked off about it. There is also, I've talked to them, and I've talked to different people, and I think, are the bad ones more the Nephilim type? I think that's a distinct possibility. There's what they call the Eliads, which are supposed to be the good ones that decided not to be the Nephilim. And so there's possibilities that they could be from that. But when you bring that up to them, they get really ticked off about it. They're not happy about it. I don't even consider them part Nephilim. I don't believe that they are. Like I said, the most that I would say is a possibility, and that doesn't mean I agree with it, would be the bad ones. But we don't have Nephilim DNA, so we can't check it. They get really, really upset if you even consider calling them that. Now, there is, like I said, there is things that, you could say that they're the Eliads because they are not true Nephilim and they're supposed to be good. Are they with that? But you will never get one of them to say that they are either one. What they will tell you is they are human like us and children of Creator or children of God. So, there is so much thought about whether they're Nephilim or not. And honestly, there's just no way to prove it. I listen to them. I think they should know what they are. They claim they are absolutely 100% not Nephilim. But again, I respect anybody's opinion because in that case, there's really no way for us to prove it either way. Myself, I tend to go with what they say because I figure they know more about what they are than anybody. And the reaction that I get with any of them, it doesn't matter which one I ask. And I've asked several different clans, different parts of the world, whatever. And I get the same reaction every single time. They're not Gigantopithecus. They're not Nephilim. The only thing that they will say is that they are children of God and they are human.
Changing topics here. One thing that I have noticed is that there are a lot of, lack of better terms, companies and tours going into Sasquatch areas trying to have sightings and everything like that. What's your thoughts on this fledgling Sasquatch tourism?
I have a big problem with it. I really and truly do. I understand the interest right now. It's a big way to make money. Okay, let's be honest. And people are so curious about them, and I don't blame them for that at all. They're fascinating, even the bad ones. So I get where they're coming from. The problem is when you do this, it's complete disrespect for them. I mean, how would you like to be sitting in your living room with your family in your pajamas, watching TV or just whatever, and then all of a sudden people come barging through your front door, complete strangers, and let your inside of your house and your family life be a tour? That's the same thing. And the problem with it is you don't know every single person on that tour bus's intent. They can tell you that they just want to see them and learn about them or whatever. These are not zoo animals. These are a type of people. Not our type of people, but they are a type of people. It's genetically been proven, whether anybody likes to study or not. People that are close to them, have ongoing contact or speak with them, they all know it too. I'm not the only one, but they are not a zoo animal. They are not in cages to be put in a zoo. And when you go and you do that, you bring anybody into their area and you don't know if that person has an intent to hurt them, kill them, hunt them. God knows our people kill what they don't understand. Our government hunts them down like wild animals. And a lot of people, unfortunately, do as well. But the problem is when they get them, now it becomes dangerous. So our people go into their areas and go looking for them, cause trouble, come after them. Some people go to shoot them, hurt them, injure them, or their families. They fight back, and yet they're the bad ones, and the government comes in and wants to shoot them and kill them all. And they do have squads that deal within the government for the sole purpose of locating, finding, and killing cryptids. It's a fact. And so we're causing the problem, but they're the one that pays the ultimate price. And if it's not the government that comes in there, it's what they can do to us. I mean, they are so far advanced in strength and a different kind of intelligence than we possess. And then just add in all those paranormal abilities, and now you got a party. But no, I don't agree with it. I know several people that do that. And, I try to be that person that even if I don't agree with somebody, I will still give them the respect that they deserve because they are entitled to their opinion and they are entitled to their thoughts. And I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. But I absolutely 100% disagree with it. That's not how you build a relationship with them. That's not how you get contact with them. That's how you piss them off, and that's how people get hurt. It's just as dangerous for our people as it is their people, and you're treating them like, they're on display. These are their lives. These are their families. They have children there. And, we don't want them harassing us, but yet we are constantly harassing them. So I get really, really defensive about it. And the bad thing is because I'm an empath on top of it, I pick up their feelings. Like when that happens, I've more than once, I pick up on it. And I know a lot of the other empaths that I've worked with and trained, they all end up getting the same thing. It comes down to respect no matter which way you slice it. And it's just, we don't want people come barging into our homes and bringing a tour bus in and letting everybody know where we live so that we feel unsafe. Yet we are there first, front, and ready to do that to them. And they are a type of people. So yeah, I have a big problem with it. I know a lot of people do it, and a lot of people will do it under the facade that they are just trying to educate people on them. You want to educate them? Go on shows. Go do a conference. Tell them about their ways. Tell them about their culture, their lives, their language, what they can do, what they can't do, how to work with them, how to be around them and keep it copacetic and calm, or how to deal with the bad ones, because we all know there are bad ones out there. Don't go bust into their homes. It's so unsafe, not only for us, but for them. And you don't know the true intent of the people that you take in there. They could come back at a later time and try to kill them. They could bring the government back in there. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, and it happens all the time.
What about if it's just like a road tour?
If you want to do, a road tour and you're not taking them to where they're at all the time, what I do suggest to people, if that's what you feel in your heart you're going to do, don't go to where their homes are at. Or if you're going to go and you want to look for structures, go out in the woods and look for structures. Just make sure you emphasize to people, don't touch them. This form of communication for them. I mean, and don't do large groups. It overwhelms them and it sets them off because there's too many energies and too many frequencies in it. And I think that, if you're going to do it at all, stay, keep them in the car or whatever, go down the road and say, this is the area that, you could possibly have a sighting. Stay on the road. Don't be going into their space. Point out structures from the road. Look at, there's an arch over there, or there's this over there, or there's this over there. The problem with any of it is once people know that they may be hanging around that area, not just regular researchers, Dave, like yourself, like you go in there, I know you. And I've talked to you while you've been out in the field with them. You are completely respectful. And I would say 95% of the researchers are. But there's that other 5%. And when you're doing these tours of any kind, you're taking complete strangers that really, most of them don't know anything about them, really. It's like going to the zoo. And you're taking them into an area where they may frequent. These people can go back at a later time on their own. Who's going to be with them to tell them protocols to work with these things? Who's going to tell them what is safe to do for them and what's not safe to do for them? Or don't mess with the structures. It pisses them off. It's communication. There's energy in them. There's frequency in them that they don't need to be messing with. There won't be anybody there to keep. I'm like the safety police. I've always been like that with people because I'm a mom. But when they go back on their own, there is nobody there that's going to help them. So unless you're going to do the drive-bys and get into this elaborate thing and then pray that people listen, nobody needs to know where their homes are. If you have an area that you go as far as your research site like you do, nothing wrong with that. They come to you. They aren't living there. They come to you because they frequent that area. But you're not bringing in a mass of people. And the people that you bring in, you aren't concerned that are going to come back later with guns and kill them when you're not there. And unfortunately, because our people are the way they are, that really comes into play a lot. It's just not a safe thing. I wish our people weren't the way they are, but they, it's the way it is. Like if you're going to take a small group of friends out that and you trust, that's fine. But when you turn it into a business, and the other thing is they do not like people making money off of them. They hate it. That's why they don't give everybody their the plants and stuff they use for medicine. They make some amazing thing for medicinal purposes. They don't give it to us because they're afraid that we're going to turn it into a commercial product and make money off of them. If you're doing a conference and you're selling T-shirts and that kind of stuff, they don't care. They really don't. But when you take their homes, when you take their way of life and it's exploited for your own personal gain, that becomes a problem.
I get that, and I appreciate it, but isn't it? So we got about 3 minutes to go here. Isn't it a good way to introduce people to this subject that these creatures are real?
If done in a certain way. Now, I encourage people that want to do that, don't go to a Sasquatch area. Take people out in the woods. Just take them out in the woods. Take them for a walk through the woods. Educate them about the Sasquatch. Look around, maybe you will find a structure that you can, show it to them and explain it to them. Teach them about the protocols on interacting with these beings. And educate them. I think that's great. If you want to get a bus or if you want to get a group of people and charge them just to go out in an unknown area where you've been out and you know that the Sasquatch aren't there all the time, but you're going to take them out there and show them what to look for. Show them things that, this is something you would look for, whatever, and educate them, then I think that's great. Be honest with them. This is what they are. This is how they can behave. There's good ones. There's bad ones. You never tell everybody that they're all good or all bad because that's not true. It's a pretty blend. I think there's more calm ones than there are aggressive ones, but regardless, the aggressive ones are lethal. But I mean, if you're going to do this, and that's if, you have to be responsible about it. They need to know the risk when they go out there. They need to know what they're dealing with. They need to know what to look for signs of them. They need to be encouraged that only go so far with it. You don't need to be pushing them where their home is at, because they will fight back. Just like if somebody walks into your house unannounced in the middle of the night, you're going to deal with an intruder, whether it's with a gun or whether it's physical, whatever, you're going to deal with an intruder. They're not going to be any different. So I think as long as you're presenting correct information that can benefit both sides, and you are not taking them right in an area where they are known to be all the time, and you're just getting people out in the woods and saying, you could look for this, you could look for this, you could look for this, then I don't see a problem with it. It's when you get precise on where they're at. Like I said, I caution everybody, make sure you're not taking somebody in there that's going to go in there and go back later and kill them, because they may end up being the ones dead because they're not going to tolerate it.
These tours that are popping up, they're almost getting as popular in areas as paranormal tours. Do you see a difference between the two?
Yeah, I think with your paranormal tours, a lot of this paranormal stuff may not be living there. You may run into things, whether it's a ghost tour or whatever. Spirits can be dangerous. I've dealt with them since I was a little kid. I've helped, remove spirits. I've helped connect with spirits, and they can be dangerous at times, but they are not a living, breathing people that are here. And for me, that would be the difference. I don't have a problem with ghost tours. I have a friend that does ghost tours, and he does a remarkable job. And I think people have to be careful on them, as long as you have somebody skilled working with you on that tour, which he is, then it's fine. It's a little bit different when it comes to Sasquatch. You're now dealing with the type of people.
Robin Haynes, we got her till the top of the hour here on Spaced Out Radio for the Cryptid Report. We'll be right back.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Beauty. Beauty. Excuse me. That was a quick half hour.
Yeah. But the thing of it too, Dave, is like, can you imagine the fear that the Sasquatch kids get?
Oh yeah.
And they're taking these kids out and they're teaching them. And when those kids are out, they are not going to let anybody near them. It's to me, it's sad because it's just so not okay. And I think that the people that do the tours, they go into it thinking that there's no problems with it. But you look at it from a human perspective, it's not good. Like, I know people that do the tours and just think they're, and they take them out in areas where the Bigfoot have been at. They're not taking them to their homes, but where they've been at.
Yeah.
And take them all around. They try to look for footprints and everything, but if you're going to do it, pick an area where they're not there all the time. They might frequent it or hunt in it.
I know there's a tour in Harrison Hot Springs where the gentleman is doing that. He's just driving along the gravel roads.
Yeah.
And he has like a history book on, okay, at this turn on July 12th, 1964, there was a sighting by a family of 3 who,
Yeah, and that isn't so bad. That isn't so bad because he's just doing a slow drive in a big area, so they're not going to be able to pinpoint and locate them. And he's telling them about the prior sightings or whatever. I don't think that's too bad. That you could get away with. You really could, as long as it's in a big enough area so that it doesn't pinpoint where they're at. And now he's given information about, different sightings and stuff, and that's great. That's not going to hurt people. I mean, their people. It's going to educate ours. As long as you don't get it where, last week one was here. Because you're going to get people, when they hear that, they're going to go back to that spot. And they're going to look for that one that showed up a week ago. Giving past history of them in there, or, you're going down a big area like that, I think you'd be fine doing that. It's when you get them out in the woods, that's when the big problems hit.
I get that.
And they just got to keep it in perspective. These are not animals. They're no more animal than we are, and that, they need a certain amount of respect and a certain amount of space. You're now in their home. But something like that, I mean, I may not partake in it, but I don't think that would be necessarily the worst thing in the world, as long as you don't get too specific on locations where they're at and you're covering a big enough area. And you're talking about, sightings that were far enough in the past where it's not a threat to them now. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to protect them, not hurt them.
Very true.
And if we're going to teach people about them, we don't want to teach people about them so they can use the information that they get to hurt them.
I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah, if we could trust everybody with them, it'd be so much nicer. It's like, I would love to I have taken different people out in the woods with me, but I'm very careful. Like, I have a select few that I would take out with my groups. Like, I take you out in a minute. I know how you are with your guys, so I wouldn't even hesitate. But complete strangers that I don't know, absolutely not. Like, people thought for the longest time I was a recluse, because when I lived in Michigan and they would walk freely around my property all day long uncloaked. I mean, it was normal. And as soon as they started doing that, my house was on lockdown. I mean, I had like 4 people that I allowed to come there. Like, Igor Borstuff was there, Bob Daigle was there, Joe Stewart was there. I just very limited people and a couple of friends, and nobody else was allowed. I mean, nobody could understand why I was in seclusion. I wasn't in seclusion. I was protecting them, and it was difficult because I didn't let very many people come to my house at all.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, and if there were people like when I had to have the repair guy there for the furnace, I flat out told him, everybody stay in the woods. You know,
Right.
this person's going to be there.
Right.
Should I do
All
that
right.
where I'm at now?
We have about 15 seconds to go here. Big thank you to Deborah Rooney ×2, Simon with 3, Deidre and Joe. Thank you for the lovely super chats tonight. I greatly appreciate the love and support. And here we go in about 7 seconds. I think that Deb with 3. We got the Cryptid Report continuing on Spaced Out Radio with Robin Haynes tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. Hopefully we freaked you out just a little bit tonight with our high strangeness that we bring to you on a nightly basis. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Let's get back to Robin Haynes of the Cryptid Report. Robin, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's always special to me when I come here. It's one of my favorite places. That one in the Cryptid Wilderness group.
Oh, we love you. We do. We love you. Hey, recently, TMZ put out a report of a video of a guy in the forest who allegedly snuck up on a Bigfoot taking a nap.
Yeah, I saw that, and I've had so many people contact me and look at it. And, you know, it wasn't my experience. So I'm not going to say 100% that I don't believe it. I did not feel it was real for a variety of reasons. Number one, you know, I just, it's not that they can't look like that, but there were certain things with the body that didn't look right to me. And it also didn't look right to me where it went from the hair that went down the arm onto the hand. It was like it got to the wrist and all the hair stopped. And then there was this bald hand. You know, any of the ones I've been close to, and I've been around, you know, not millions of them, but I've been around quite a few of them. And they all, the hair would go off that wrist and just a little bit down on the back of the hand. Of course, the fingers were skin and the palm and all that, but it was like the hair cut off dead center at that wrist, like you would find in a costume. The faces that can be bald like that, every one of them is different. There's no two that are the same. And they can be bald like that, but I didn't think the muscles in the face looked accordingly either. Again, I don't claim to be an expert, but from my experience that I've had, I just didn't feel it. I really didn't. I thought it was a fantastic video. Would I say 100% that it's not legit? No, because I wasn't there. It's not my experience, and I don't go around trashing other people's experiences. I just don't. It's theirs for them to own it, you know, and that's what he says was real. That's possible. I myself just found inconsistencies with it.
Well, I will say, in my opinion, I do not believe it is real either.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. If Sasquatch is that powerful of a creature in the forest, a survivor, a camouflage specialist, whether it's flesh and blood or you believe like I do, there's something very supernatural about it.
Yeah.
Okay. There is no bloody way that it would just be lying there with its thumb up its butt, not paying attention to an extremely loud human walking.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. Walking in grass, there's always sticks, there's always rocks, and everybody, doesn't matter how coordinated or uncoordinated you are, when you're walking a trail, somebody always trips.
Yeah, and the headset to me did not look accurate. You know, their head literally sits down in the clavicle area. I mean, it sits down. They don't have this neck that one appeared to have. And again, the muscles in the face were not, in my opinion, were not accurate.
Well, and that leads me to point number 2. To me, the face looked like a rubber mask.
Yeah, I agree.
It totally looked like, and I especially noticed that in the eyes, where the eyes were really set back and black.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, anybody that's had a close contact with them, and there's thousands of people, millions of people that have, the one thing they notice about is their eyes. And their eyes are incredible. And you look in them, whether they're dark-eyed or blue-eyed, brown-eyed, when you look in those eyes, it's like you can see right into their soul. It's for people that have seen them up close and into the eyes, they would understand what I'm talking about. And that wasn't how that was. And the facial muscles that should have been in certain parts of the face were not. There's lots of them that have the bald face like that. There's some that are I've seen some of them that they look like Cousin It because there's so much hair on the face. So not having hair on the face didn't surprise me. But the muscular set for that face was not right. The neck was not right. They don't have fur. They have hair. That looked more fur-based than hair-based. And there is a big difference.
Real. The hair didn't even look real.
No, it didn't. And, again, anybody that's had an up-close contact with them can say this as well. When they move, because of the mass of muscles they have, it literally parts the hair over the muscles because those muscles flex. And when they flex, the hair separates and comes down over the muscles. It's just astonishing to watch. When that thing moved around, it did not do that. And that sends up a flag for me because the muscles flex when they move. They are one giant muscle. There's no movement that they can make that they are not going to flex, and it would make the hair move slightly. That thing never did that. Even when it moved, you could not see any flexing of the muscles, no parting of the hair. And that to me would be like something that you would go to Joann Fabrics and find in the fake hair, or not hair, but fake fur department. It did not look, even thick hair would still show some kind of flexing of the muscles when it moved. So like for me, when I looked at it, we all know I do the energy signature thing, and that didn't add up to me either. I mean, I could pick up human, but I wasn't picking up the rest of what I should pick up in there, which doesn't mean I'm perfect at it, but I do a decent job of it, and I have a decent track record. So that wasn't present for me either. But when you're looking at muscle mass that isn't there, not the correct shoulder position and head position, it doesn't look like hair. It looks like fur. The muscle masses in the face are incorrect. The hair, the way it stopped at the wrist, was not like any I've ever seen. Doesn't mean it's impossible, because they're all different. Nothing like I've ever seen before. I just did not feel comfortable. And I had a lot of people, you'd be amazed all the people that contacted me to look at that. And I did. And I would dearly love to say to everybody, yeah, it's real, because it was such a clear, good photo. I can't put my stamp on it. That's for sure. I just can't.
It's funny because all of these new videos that come out, and I think there's been some good ones over the last little bit. The one where the tree is up, or the Sasquatch is up in the trees on the hill, and it's throwing the trees down. Okay, human couldn't do that.
No, I thought that looked real. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that one to me looked real. And there's another one, similar type video from a different area where it's throwing trees in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
That one looked real to me too. But this one, I mean, it looks like they borrowed a bad copy of the Jack Link's beef jerky Sasquatch, right? And laid it down in the forest. But I mean, the first, like I said right off the bat, though, the first red flag is these creatures are way too smart and way too apex of their environment that anybody could actually sneak up on one without it knowing.
Yeah, and the few people that have snuck up on them and startled them have found out what happens when you do that. And it's not a pretty sight, you know. People that have been out mushroom hunting or whatever and you know, went to look for mushrooms and accidentally found one sleeping out on the ground somewhere around, you know, on the other side of a log. Then they get their skulls bashed in, and you know, they don't like to be startled. And when they're startled, they're going to come up fighting because they automatically assume it's a predator. And that thing never did any of those. It just was kind of like sitting up and looking around and not doing a thing. But I really encourage people, when you're looking at these videos, look for the flexing of those muscles. Look to see, does that look like fur? Does it look like hair? Because they don't have fur. Look where the hair stops at. Look at the facial muscles. When they're moving around, are they flexing where they're supposed to? Are the cheekbones where they're supposed to? Do they have the muscles in the face? They have such a muscular face. You know, some of them have the broad nose, some of them don't. All their features are different, but it doesn't change where muscle mass in the face should be. And when you don't see those things, when you see them move, but yet you see no flexing of the muscles, and you don't see movement in the hair, you're not seeing movement in the hair because it's not hair, it's a fake fur. And so you're not going to see, and it doesn't have to part a great deal over the muscle, but it will, that hair will move. And when you're not seeing that, that's a big red flag that says, okay, this is nothing more than a fake fur that they got at a fabric store. You know, I've yet to see any of them that when they move, you don't see a muscle flex. You don't see some kind of hair movement around that flexing muscle. So these are just a few things, you know, to look at when you're looking at these videos, because there are people that have gotten clear videos. They're phenomenal videos. That one, and I can't remember what they called it, but it was a while ago, and it's the black female carrying the black baby and going behind the boulders. That has got to be one of my all-time favorite videos. And I will go to my grave saying that that's real. But there's some really, really good ones that people have gotten. And then there's the other ones, you know, so look at a variety of things. Don't just look at it and say, oh, well, does it look real? Does it look not? No, break it apart piece by piece. You know, you're looking for muscles. You're looking for hair patterns, hair movement, you know, and that usually will help you sort it out.
Any good stories that you've heard recently on sightings?
Do you know, I have, there's been several people that have contacted me and are really amazed that the contact they're getting isn't just fleeting of them walking away. They're sticking around, they're making eye contact, or they're noticing them moving closer to them. You know, like they actually want that contact exchange. I've got several of my clients that we've been working really hard. I mean, those were people that I was talking about right now that were not my clients, but I have several of my clients that I've, you know, been teaching the energy and the frequency work with, and the results are astronomical. I mean, I have one gal that she's just absolutely wonderful, and she's doing the energy and the frequency work out in the woods, and she is getting pictures of them right and left because they're coming closer to her. As that frequency goes up, it draws them in because they're frequency and energy based. That's what they are. So as your frequency and energy goes up, they want to get closer. They want the interaction. And a lot of people, not just my clients, but a lot of people all over the place are getting that interaction where these beings are coming towards them, not in an aggressive manner, but like they're just as curious as we are. And I think that's fantastic. You know, and I think that's when you get to the point where now you start learning about their culture and their ways of life so that you know the differences. You know, like our words don't mean the same. Our culture is different than them. So when they do things, we have to know going into it, they're doing it from this perspective and not our perspective. When you try to start to interact with them and you're doing things based on our perspective of our culture, that's when it doesn't work. But they are coming out more and they are friendlier and they are, I don't necessarily want to go so far as to say they're wanting the contact, but they're curious enough where they're giving us the benefit of the doubt. And they are moving closer to people in a positive way. You know, if you present yourself to them in a respectful manner and in a positive way and in respect for their culture and the way they do things, those people that are doing that are getting results. You know, and even clients that may not, when they come to me, are not necessarily looking for contact with Sasquatch, but are learning how to do the energy and the frequency work, they're getting attention from them. Because again, you raise that frequency and energy and you're right on their radar. They can track that all over the place. And they're getting contact as well. I have a very dear client, and that's turned out to be a friend of mine, just like the other gal has. And, you know, we're going to be working tomorrow, and hers love her. They come to see her. They come up by the back of her property and they watch her. You know, so the contact's there. It's not that there's not contact. It's how you go about it. And there's just been more people, I think, now than I've seen in the last maybe 8 to 12 months that are like, they really act like they want to be around me. And they're, instead of my people leaving them gifts, they're being left gifts from the Sasquatch. And I'm getting contacted more and more from people that aren't my clients that are having the same shared experiences. I think we're coming into a time where they are going to be more noticeable under the right circumstances. That doesn't mean it's going to be like that for everybody. In the right circumstances, they are more willing to communicate with us. They're more willing to have contact with us in the right circumstances. And it's becoming more acutely aware every day. As we go into this whole new earth and the global reset and all these things that are going on, and our frequencies, as we're going into the 5D, you know, we're starting into 4D and then going into the 5D, they are coming out more and more and more. And they do every so many years. They make an attempt to try to get along with us, and we generally screw it up. But as they're doing it now and our frequencies are up higher, they actually are more willing to do it. So yeah, I think it, you know, I am really encouraged by it. People are starting to learn now more about the frequency and the energies and the consciousness. All of those things is how you get interaction. You can do whatever you want to do, but until you let them come to you on their own, you know, have a bonfire, sit there, whatever, but let them come to you and make decisions and start trying to connect with them through the frequencies, the consciousness. You'd be amazed. It's not that hard to get contact. And for the people that are doing those things, they are front and center. They're not nearly as shy as they used to be.
It is about safety, though.
Yeah, you have to. But there are ways to be as safe as you can. Obviously, you can't be 100% safe. We're not 100% safe with our own people. You know, and that's one of the things when you work with anybody, whether it's myself or somebody else, safety first. You have to cover the safety areas and the boundaries and what to do in different situations. There's no way to be 100% safe. There just isn't. We can't be 100% safe with our people either. But there are things that you cover, and there are things that they need to be aware of. And because of the cultural differences, people need to be aware of what lines not to cross. It may not be something that's going to be a problem for our people, but yet it is for them. You know, all you can do is be as safe as you can be. And there are ways to do it. I have people that go into the woods that have to carry a weapon. Sasquatch isn't the only thing out there. There's bears, there's cougars, there's, you know, all kinds of things. So when you go out, and you and I have talked about this before, and I think it's worked for your group, you go out, you announce that you have that weapon because they can find it anyway. But when you announce it and say to them, I'm bringing it, I'm here pure of heart. I'm not, this is not to be used on you as long as you come to me pure of heart. This is to protect me from X, Y, and Z. They will read your intent. And if your intent matches the words that you're saying to them, they're fine with it. They will cope with it. Some won't, but 90% of them will. You know, you always want to be safe. You don't ever want to get yourself put in a situation you can't get out of. You know, a lot of people that have them around their homes and they want to go out with them. You know, I used to go and sit with mine out in the middle of the woods at night. Dumbest thing I could have done. My group was great. I had no problems. Had I not had a group as good as that, I would be dead right now. but I wasn't working with anybody that had any knowledge of them to tell me that. I was winging it by myself. So the people that I'm working with, they want to go out with them. I'm like, okay, go out on your porch. They will come up to you. They prefer being the one to come to you because it puts them more in control. They can control the situation around them and they feel safer. You don't want to get yourself in a position where they've cut you off from the house, or from some kind of shelter. So there are ways to do it. If you're going to go out with more than just yourself, have 2 or 3 people, but don't bombard them with groups of 20. That's overstimulation for them and they cannot handle it. There's too many frequencies, there's too many energies all at one time, and all it does is freak them out. Go in a smaller group and go out there, sit there, make enough noise, laughter, just being around them, talking out in the woods, just talk to them. They love it. They can read your vibration. They can read your frequency. There are so many ways that you can connect with them. And everything that I've gotten from everybody lately has been really good as far as making contact. They're not getting as much aggression as they used to. The aggressive ones tend to want to stay away from us. So if you leave them alone, you have a better chance. Doesn't always work, but you have a better chance of them leaving you alone. They go up way in the mountains to get away from us. Let them go up there. There's enough in the lower part of the mountains to suffice whatever you want to do. Be respectful of their boundaries if you want them to respect yours. But so far, the word on the street with everybody that I have contact is they are getting more contact than before. And so far, it's been peaceful.
Well, that's good. We only got about 20 seconds with you tonight, and I want to say a big thank you for staying up late, coming out with us, hanging out, and talking about Sasquatch. I really do appreciate it tonight.
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. I'm always honored when I get to come on the show. And you guys are just amazing.
And as chat room, we're quite interested. Bumblefoot Doll, Rockfest. In the background, little brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Streamer, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. All right, we done.
All right, I will talk to you later, and I will see you Thursday, babe.
Thank you, little Robin Haynes. We appreciate
anytime. You. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Love you
Bye.
too. Bye-bye. Little Robin Haynes, everybody. All right. Let me just get ready here. Are you ready, Steve? Ready? Tomorrow night on the show, Science Bob is here. We're going to have a busy Science Bob and friends. I can tell you that right now. Busy, 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 busy. Busy, 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 busy. Busy, busy. Busy, 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 busy. Busy. One sec here. And let's go here. And we can close that off, close that off, close that off, close, download, move there. It's all a system, man. It's all a system. I am so tired. That's okay. I don't mind. Damian Wyatt, how you doing? All right. Thank you, Simon ×4, Deb with a hat trick, Deidre and Joe for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support, everybody. I'm going to call it the night here because I'm pretty worn out. But thank you for a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow night with Science Bob. If you're new here, hit subscribe, ring that bell, and don't forget you can download us on any major podcast network. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.